Bit late, but let's call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Allegretti?
Here.
Ms. Kendall?
Here.
Mr. Rice? Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Diaz?
Here. Thank you. Actually, Tony Rice checked in with me earlier today. Apparently he's got to change his schedule at work, so he has to fill in for some of his people. So he's not able to be here. Just to go quickly through agenda, welcome everybody. It's another Friday night. We'll be able to cover as much as we can, but we are prepared to do 3 cases as listed in the agenda. So we'll do public input first, and then we'll move on to closed session to handle the items as listed, and then we'll come back, reconvene at no particular time, just as we go through the cases. But we will come back to vote in public before adjourning for the meeting. Reminder then, we did skip this week's regular meeting. We had been scheduling every month. We've gone now to every 2 months so that we can fit more hearings. And I do apologize to everybody. The calendars were a little bit mixed up. So reminder then, our regular meeting on December 22nd, and that's when we'll be handling that taser case that we've had pending for a while. Now we'll turn it over to the public input. I'll stop sharing and hopefully be able to call on people as they come up. Zoom hasn't been cooperating. We have Alex Parker in the room too. And then we have 3, 4 other people. Does anyone wish to speak? If so, raise your hand. Thank you. We've got one. Please add yourself to the list, and then we'll come back and catch you. All right, Mr. Hansen, your time is yours.
Hi, can you hear me okay? Hi, my name is Christopher Hansen. I've been attending these meetings for more than 2 years now, citing numerous problems with the CPRB. Virtually nothing has changed in that 2+ years time. I just wanted to strongly urge any Urbana residents listening not to put yourself through the CPRB complaint process. It's extremely frustrating. It's extremely disappointing. There's virtually nothing good that can come out of it. I've been through it myself. It's not good. The police and city staff do basically everything they can to disrupt and pervert the process. If you've watched the last few meetings, you've even heard about, Carol Mitten's efforts to deny police complaints whenever she can. There's a good chance if you submit a police complaint, it'll be denied in some way. So I don't really see the point of going through it. The people who are supposed to be helping residents go along with the process like this, Cecilia Clark, Preston James, Lamont Peppers, Carla Boyd, they don't seem to have any interest in doing anything but the misconduct of the city staff and the police department. So don't expect any help there. These appeals hearings, the city hired a hearings officer who was completely useless and doesn't advocate for the appellant's rights at all. Was hired from Meyer Capel, a law firm that has a lot of police officers as clients. And I'm told by one of the attorneys in that law firm that they would never ever litigate against a police officer because they're have so many interests for the police department. So that's where the hearing officer comes from for these hearings. He doesn't seem to be familiar with the CPRB ordinance, and when it's been violated, he doesn't seem to care. So for that matter, the CPRB members aren't very familiar with our own ordinances and police policies either. So I don't know, if you end up filing a complaint, it'll probably get denied. If you end up going through the appeals process, expect that to be upsetting. The appeals process, everything is basically set up to just give the impression of oversight when there isn't actually any. So some kind of misconduct is identified by the police, and then the CPRB members are tasked with finding that there was no misconduct via whatever rationale they can justify. And we even had instances of CPRB members just lying to the public about what happened within the closed session. Scott Dossett was a huge example of that. Months back, he said in a closed session that he refused to accept any evidence from new evidence from the appellant. And then he was called out on that later, and then he told the public that he never said that, and that was just a lie. And he's refused to correct that. He just lied to the public. Last couple weeks ago, Ricardo made some very deceptive comments about an appeals hearing being the appellant wanted the CPRB to rule on an OMA violation. That's not true. That's wrong. That was peripheral to the issue. The issue was an allegation that the UPD aided the mayor in committing crimes against the people of Urbana, and that's exactly what happened. We know that she committed crimes against the people of Urbana. It's documented. It's been determined by the Illinois Attorney General. The CPRB apparently decided that the UPD is free to aid the mayor in that kind of action and doesn't have to do anything. Ultimately, the Attorney General told the mayor to stop committing crimes against the people of Urbana. The city of Urbana had to spend tens of thousands of dollars on this because no one associated with the city would do anything. And the people who should be doing something, people who are, say, police officers, only helped the mayor commit crimes. And the CPRB apparently thinks that that's appropriate. So that's what that hearing was about. Again, this process is really broken. I suggest you stay away from it. I don't think it'll ever get fixed at this rate. Thanks.
Thank you for your contribution. Ms. Chung.
Hi, can you hear me? This is Tracy Chung. I wanted to, I guess, comment a bit about, well, first of all, I guess, thank you for commenting on your decisions, the decisions that you made for the CPRB appeals hearing. But after listening to your discussions, especially Ricardo's, I'm wondering, I'm a little confused because it seems like, Ricardo, you were saying that the CPRB is, you said something along the lines that CPRB is not meant to judge on OMA violations, or and you told the public what's the proper procedure to file complaints with the IAG, but that does not seem to be what the complaint was about. So I'm curious, like, how do you guys, like, is it lost in translation? Are you guys making excuses for your decision, or, I mean, how is your comment? How are your deliberations just not based on what the complaint is actually about? Why didn't you guys address the issue of like inaccurate police reporting, or the police not following up, or the police not allowing Mayor Marlin to commit violations? So I'm just wondering why. I just don't understand the reason for your the explanation you gave for your decision. So maybe you could elaborate on that. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution. Before we do go into closed session, I'll entertain that motion in a second. We decided, I think, a good suggestion, and to try to be more transparent, to give an explanation of what we meant by our vote, or whichever way it went. There seems to be some misunderstanding. The clarification, at the risk of getting too close, the case is, and the discussion is closed. We are not allowed to talk about the specifics of both the person appearing in the people appearing in the hearing and the details of it. But we did categorize our decision into two. The OMA, the Open Meetings Act, protects the public and is supposed to protect the public from anything going on in which the public is not participant, except in closed hearings. In this particular case, as I put forward, you're welcome to go back to the recording. I spoke of, we learned that OMA, the Open Meetings Act, protects citizens, but not through this venue. I did not comment on the specifics of how it applied to this particular case, except that we learned after consultations and as issues came up. OMA is handled through a different venue, and that was news to me. Not that part wasn't, but that it is a case in which the police is not involved. It is a complaint to that authority. It handles the OMA as an act. It was clarified for us, and we learned that much. The contents of the complaint itself, as normal, it goes through the same process. There is a complaint, there is a chief's disposition, and then if the complainant is not happy, then they appeal the decision. And that contents is what was also is what we do hearing about. So not mentioning anything more because that case is relevant to that decision only. But our learnings and any policy recommendations are what we will be announcing at the end of this meeting today too. So may not be clear enough, except that our learnings are what they are, and I try to put them forward. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session now.
I move to go into closed session for the purposes of hearing the appeals as outlined in the agenda.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Colin. I guess we have to go through roll call. And then we'll see you all in everybody to go back into the new Zoom link that you all got. And we'll see you there in a couple of minutes.
Ms. Kendall? Ms. Kendall?
Do you want to go into closed session, Katrina? She dropped out
I
already.
think she dropped out, but she didn't get a vote.
Yeah, she didn't get to vote.
We have 3, which would still cut it. So
Mr.
Okay.
Wilson? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Diaz?
yes,
Mr. Allegretti?
say yes. Tony?
I said yes. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Didn't
okay.
hear. All right, we'll see you on the other side. Tony wins the competition for the fastest to be in the room. And so we've got
Ricardo, do you want me to make a motion?
1, 2, 3, 4 people attending the room, the virtual room. We have Katrina, Colin, and Tony back, and myself as board members, and the city conference room is also in the room. So it looks like we have everybody. I'll entertain a motion to close the closed session.
Ricardo, I move to come out of closed session and come back into open session.
Thank you. Second by
A second.
you, Katrina. I think we have to take a roll. So Carla,
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Diaz?
yes.
Mr. Allegretti? You're muted.
Yes.
Ms. Kendall?
Yes.
Thank you. I've lost the screen with my agenda. So going from notes, paper notes. I am ready to entertain a motion on AP 20-30.
As to motion, or as to AP 20-30, I would move as to the chief's decision in 2020-30, finding of not sustained.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Colin. Can we have a roll call?
Mr. Diaz,
Aye.
Mr. Allegretti,
Yes.
Ms. Kendall,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
We had agreed to make a comment as to each case for, well, observations from the board. I'm going to make a couple small ones. Anyone on the board can make any more just because we did not get a chance to discuss them. This case helped me understand who might own a public, a press release. And in my particular case, I saw and insist that when a press release comes out, it is the venue or the letterhead and the person putting it out that owns that press release. And so for me, that helped me make a decision. I also learned something new for me. Well, not new, but I learned some backing for it. Not necessarily related to this press release. Lying is not allowed in the police department, and we heard very directly from our police. There's such thing as a Brady law, and the words I heard that got me: lying is lying in official matters is career suicide. So I think that is a fair expectation of our police. The gravity is fair, but that then leads me to take it as seriously as that if it ever comes up. So those are two things I learned from this case. I'll leave it at that. Board members, any other comments? Okay.
Yeah,
Leave
to
it.
clarify, I don't believe the position of the board is that anybody was lying in this case. Just to clarify, I don't think
Thank you.
that was not our conclusion. Just to reiterate.
Yeah, actually it is. And the reason for my first comment had to do with, which related to the finding. I'm having trouble articulating it, but whoever released it then would be under the responsibility of it, and therefore we find that in this particular case, it was within our purview to do a CPRB because the press release was published within the Facebook page of the police first. So thank you very much. I am now ready to entertain a motion on AP 20-45. I think it's the next one on my list.
I make a motion that in AP 20-45, that the finding of the police chief are sustained.
Here, a second.
I'll second.
Okay, can we have a roll call?
Mr. Allegretti,
Yes.
Ms. Kendall,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Diaz.
Yes. As to observations, so the motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Kendall. That's the comments first. Carla, I'm not first every time. Thank you very much. To vote. Comments as to the motion. As to the decision. I'll give you a couple in just a minute. Does anybody else have a comment? Okay, I'll give you a quick one from my notes. there have been times at which the procedure has changed and our personnel has changed, and so the CPRB has had different access to complaints. We don't necessarily all have to see complaints as they come in, but we are supposed to be notified within 7 days. That has not always been true, especially during transition and COVID. As far as I can tell, and by definition this would be true, there has never been an instance where we're not shown complaints. That is, I have always been able to either walk into the office or look into the portal. But lastly, I cannot recall over my years here that we have not been allowed to see complaints. So there is lateness, there has been lateness, but I have always been allowed as a CPRB member to see complaints. And so I think that puts a background to some of the vote that was presented today. Thank you. The last one that we handled today is AP 20-46. I'm ready to entertain a motion.
I make a motion that in regards to AP 20-46, that the finding of the police chief was sustained.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Can I have a roll call?
Ms. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Diaz?
Yes.
Mr. Allegretti?
Yes.
Comments from board members? Okay, I'll take it up for a second just on from my notes again. I wish I would prepare them more, but there is not as much time to do so.
While Ricardo's like sort of looking at his notes, I think it's worth mentioning that the board, we have a responsibility as well to make public record our findings and conclusions. It's pretty clear in the ordinance. And we're doing that right now, and to some extent, in that we can make some comments after the fact, but we're gonna have to go back, we're gonna have to state more clearly what our findings and conclusions were. And I haven't cleared this with the board, but I think we need to publish that at our next meeting, is to sort of solidify what our stance is in these cases and to provide a little bit of background information.
Yeah, I agree with you. While we have to be careful on privacy, I think the learning and our suggestions or recommendations need to be made clear enough that they can be heard. In this particular case, on a matter that I was present for, is a clarification, is a purview of administration, not of police. There is no, it is clear that there were lapses at the incident date of getting information, and by agreeing with the letter, we are saying that the lapses did happen, but it was not misconduct by the police. I'd like to add that what happened back then is very unfortunate because it created a very tense situation, and there are changes that need to be yet made, but I am very happy that the process that we have today of preparing for a night such as tonight, the information is in the portal by obligation of staff, and it is for our benefit to be able to consider a case as fairly as possible with the information provided by both parties at their presentations and what has been documented in the portal. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for spending your Friday night in trying to clarify past matters and learn as much as possible so we can keep on improving. So have a great night. I'll entertain a motion to finish.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Thank you. Seconded. Aye. Somebody second that motion, please?
I second if it wasn't heard.
Thank you, Tony. And roll call, and we'll see you as the agenda says in December for our regular meeting in which we'll handle that taser case. Go ahead. Carla.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Diaz,
Yes.
Mr. Allegretti,
Yes.
Ms. Kendall.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you all. Have a good night.